from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS2 News at 5 p.m.
Now at 5, a frightening day at a Whittier hospital. Patients and staff feared there was an active shooter after reports of a person with a gun. Good evening, I'm Suzanne Marquez.
And I'm Peter Dowd. Our top story tonight, a patient at Whittier Hospital Medical Center caused panic before he took his own life.
CBS 2's Adriana Weingold is live at the hospital with more on what happened. Adriana.
Well, some tense moments out here at the hospital today as patients here weren't sure whether or not there was an active shooter. In the end, the man who was also a patient ended up taking his own life. Police swarmed Whittier Hospital Medical Center this morning after witnesses say a man with a gun was seen inside the emergency room.
We were panicked, but we kind of made light of it a little bit and called family and, told them we were fine. Michelle
Pasternostro was visiting her uncle in the ICU when she says the nurses went running down the hallway, shouting at people to stay where they were, fearing there was an active shooter in the building.
She just told us that there was an active shooter and that we had to get away from the windows and certain places we could and couldn't go.
Witnesses say there was some kind of family argument in the emergency room. Police say the man's daughter had brought him to the hospital for depression. They say he went out to his car and shot himself in the parking lot outside of the hospital in an apparent suicide.
We just got here and there was blood over the gurney and they had yellow tape. The cops were still here and stuff, and yeah, it was really sad.
Family members of the man who took his own life waited for hours at the hospital but didn't want to comment on what had happened earlier in the day, saying only it was their father who had died. And if you're having suicidal thoughts or you just need to talk with someone, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number is on your screen. We are live in Whittier. Adriana Weingold, CBS 2 News. Back to you.
Thank you. A developing story now, the increasingly bitter fight over President Trump's Supreme Court pick just took a new turn. The woman who accuses High Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct decades ago came forward today. And there's a California connection. CBS 2's Jeff Witt is live in the newsroom with the latest. Jeff.
Peter, her name is Christine Blasey Ford. She is a research psychologist who teaches at Palo Alto University in Northern California. Now, as you know, Judge Brett Kavanaugh has been undergoing confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court. In an interview with the Washington Post, Ford spoke for the first time since details of an anonymous letter surfaced. Ford said that Kavanaugh and a friend corralled her into a bedroom during a gathering for teenagers at a house in Maryland in the early 1980s. While his friend watched, Ford said Kavanaugh pinned her to a bed and her back and groped her. Ford said that I thought he might inadvertently kill me. He was trying to attack me and remove my clothing. Kavanaugh released a statement this week when outlines of Ford's account first became public, saying, I categorically deny this allegation. I did not do this back in high school or at any time. Ranking member of the Judiciary Committee and Democratic Senator from California, Dianne Feinstein, reacted on Twitter saying, I support Mrs. Ford's decision to tell her story. It's hers to tell and it must be taken seriously. I find her credible and the attacks on her must stop. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham released a statement in which it read in part, if Ms. Ford wishes to provide information to the committee, I would gladly listen to what she has to say and compare that against all other information we have received about Judge Kavanaugh. And a statement from the Senate Judiciary Committee questions the Democrats' motives for bringing up the Kavanaugh accusations now. The panel is now asking Senator Dianne Feinstein to release the accuser's letter, which surfaced in July. Live in the newsroom, Jeff Nguyen, CBS 2 News.
Thank you, Jeff. Breaking news now.
This is the worst I've ever seen, the flooding.
Breaking news here. Florence was downgraded to a tropical depression today, but her fury continues. The death toll has risen to 17. North Carolina is still facing deadly flooding and record rainfall. Hundreds of people have been evacuated.
Some of our local first responders have answered the call to help Florence victims. Members of the LA County Fire Department rescued this 47-year-old man from his submerged SUV in Cumberland County, North Carolina.
Members of the Orange County Fire Authority are also in North Carolina. They rescued 4 people who got trapped in their car during Florence after it was swept off the road.
And Florence's heavy rain will continue to soak the region in the days to come.
CBS 2's Garth Kemp joins us now with a look at the forecast. Garth?
Yeah, boy, there's also been rescues of dogs that were trapped, just thousands of animals, people, everybody doing the best they can into the Carolinas. Right now, center of the circulation just about 50 miles or so south of Asheville, North Carolina, but you can still see quite a heavy rain bands going up through the 73, up through Greensboro as well. The path takes it to the north at around 14 or 15 miles an hour. And what that means is over the next couple of days, an additional 2 to 5 inches of rain will fall through the mid-Atlantic states, up through western Pennsylvania, and up in through southern New England as well. So this is not a done affecting that area. They need a lot of help out there. Whatever you can donate for animal causes, for people as well, financially is always a good thing to do to help our friends back into the Carolinas. So it has been a long-term event. We'll have our forecast coming up in just a little bit. Back to you guys.
We continue our team coverage with CBS 2's Mola Lengi, who's live in Wilmington, North Carolina. Mola, how are you doing out there?
A little wet, Susanna. You know, the continued rainfall has continued to paralyze the Carolinas. Everything from flooding out streets, as you can see, making roads impassable. This car just got stuck here literally minutes ago, to power outages throughout the Carolinas. And officials warn that the worst may be yet to come.
Florence was downgraded to a tropical depression on Sunday. It's no longer a hurricane, but continues to bring life-threatening rain to the Carolinas.
This storm has never been more dangerous than it is right now.
Since Friday, parts of North Carolina have received over 30 inches of rain. In some places, it's still pouring, and the rivers are still rising.
The strongest storm bands are dumping 2 to 3 inches of rain per hour. That's enough to cause flooding in areas that have never flooded before.
New mandatory evacuation orders were issued Sunday, but some escape routes are impassable. Already, hundreds of stranded residents have had to be rescued by helicopter.
More than 48 hours after Florence hit the Wilmington area, and the storm is still having an impact. Steady, lingering rain is flooding out some streets and neighborhoods, sometimes faster than people can react. And it's happening throughout the Carolinas.
Those rivers in North Carolina that have received heavy rainfall are coming our way.
South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster warned his constituents to brace themselves for what could be days of dangerous flooding.
A flash flood is called a flash flood because it comes and goes in a flash.
Countless trees and power lines are down across the region, leaving hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses in the dark.
It's awful. It's awful. It's going to be a long time.
Repair crews are on standby, but it could be weeks before they'll be able to go everywhere they're needed.
Yeah, because so many of these roads throughout the region are impassable, because they are literally underwater. It's making it nearly impossible for first responders, for power restoration crews, for gas tankers to get into these hardest hit communities, these towns, and begin to do the work that needs to be done. And so this could hamper the recovery process for the foreseeable future. Peter and Suzanne.
Thank you, Mola. Stay with CBS 2 News and CBSLA.com for continuing coverage of this storm.
Pope Francis is facing mounting pressure to deal with new revelations of alleged church sex abuse. Many allegations are decades old, but hard feelings still exist within the Catholic Church, including here in Los Angeles. CBS 2's Joy Benedict was in North Hollywood, where protesters made their voices heard this morning.
As church let out at St. Charles in North Hollywood, parishioners weren't just greeted by clergy, they were confronted by protesters silently soliciting change within the Catholic Church.
I don't want to give an opinion. Thanks.
Although most leaving didn't want to talk about the sex abuse scandal that still haunts the Archdiocese, others admit it haunts them too.
My biggest loss is that he lost his faith, and that is what hurts.
Marty Valdez says her son went to school with some of the victims.
Thoughts and prayers anywhere are not enough.
Organizers of today's demonstration are demanding more, specifically targeting Cardinal Roger Mahony.
We want the Attorney General to start a grand jury investigation on criminal behavior of Mahony.
Although some protesters are conflicted about possible criminal action, they don't think he should still be a cardinal.
To see Cardinal Mahony start giving Mass again has infuriated me and many of my friends.
Mahony was never convicted of a crime, but admitted he knew of sexual abuse and didn't call police.
Back then, that isn't the way these matters were approached.
But it is now. The Archdiocese of Los Angeles has since instituted a zero-tolerance policy towards abuse.
In this day and age, our church has very strict policies. When a report comes in, they're immediately reported to the police.
Cardinal Mahoney is officially retired, but according to the Archdiocese, sometimes, like any other priest in good standing, he is asked to fill in at parishes throughout Los Angeles.
People will avoid going to get in line when he passes out communion.
Which is why organizers today say their informational picket will continue, not to hurt the church, but to heal it. Joy Benedict, CBS 2 News.
Still ahead here at 5, a Southern California student falls from a balcony. The warning from sheriff's deputies.
And new details about the U.S. Border Patrol agent turned accused serial killer.